Yeah.
And we're Emily and Allison from Radical Motherhood, and we are here to talk about a recent blog post about social media. And if you want to read that article, you can go to the link in the description box or visit us at radicalmotherhood.com. The post is about social media, which I think we all kind of love and hate it, right? There are things I really love about it, like I can see my friends who live far away, what their kids look like, and what they're doing.
Yes.
That's cool. She doesn't like it at all.
No. But
So I love that there are all these groups you can join and follow people.
I do think that's cool.
That is cool.
Yes.
And you can kind of get ideas about stuff or have a conversation with people about something that you care about that maybe nobody else that you know in person cares
Yes,
about.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like really weird
Yeah.
interests or like I'm in one that's Catholic C-section moms.
Whoa,
Catholic
very
C-section
specific.
moms.
I love the photo thing that you can make an album and have it kind of store your photos, and you can tag people and you can show your family that don't live close or your friends or whatever. I do like that. However, there's a but. There is a but. The things we hate everything else, literally everything else. I hate, really what I hate is how my kids use social media. And how it kind of makes them they're like this all the time, looking at their phone. And they are always worried about what's going on social media and who's Snapchatting them and what are they saying and how many likes do I have on Instagram and
Really?
Oh yeah. Kids can be, and I'm sure you've read all these articles like we have about how kids can be bullied on social media, and that it's happening in your own home. It's not that they're at school being bullied; they're being picked on or called names or whatever.
Can't escape it. You
can't
can't get away
escape
from it.
And they get asked to do things, I think, on social media that they don't want to do, send inappropriate pictures of themselves or
Yeah, and you can't undo it.
no,
It's out there, it's on the internet, it's forever.
right.
Poor kids are
Yeah.
going to have to deal with what they post now potentially forever, and
Right.
that's a scary thing. It's
It
too
is.
bad.
It is. I hate selfies. Why a selfie? I hate them so much.
I look really good with some of those filters on.
Oh, I've never really done it.
You haven't, like on Snapchat,
Just
where
the-
you can put the little
Yeah,
glowy
yeah,
eyes, the
the
big
girls.
eyelashes.
I don't know.
the
Well, yeah,
blush.
and I think that the thing is that our kids are too immature at any age. Even our 18-year-old kids are not mature enough for social media, and they don't have the emotional strength to deal with all the things that it brings up in their lives.
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about, so why don't you just not get them a phone and not give them access to the internet at home, or,
Yeah, if
How about
only.
that?
If only I had been that strong of a parent and not done that. But I think there are reasons that people do that are good. They're good reasons to give your kid a phone. We have to worry about where they are, especially nowadays everybody's kind of, I don't know. So you give them a phone so that you can know where they are all the time. You can get a hold of them. They can call you if they need a ride. All of those things.
Well, and do you think it would fix it to just not give them a phone? Like say, Haley, you are just not going to have a phone and you're not going to have social media, and I forbid you to use Snapchat, and what would that do?
I think that creates our sneaky kids doing stuff behind your back that you don't know about. And I think that they will find a way to do the things that their friends are doing. They're going to, we found
agree
ways
with
to do
that.
the things that when we were teenagers. So I know they're going
We
to,
weren't that smart.
no. I applaud those parents who can hold off at least as long as possible in getting their kids a cell phone, wait until they're 16 or something like that. But the pressure is on for parents to give. And I think, another thing is that kids are being asked to use their cell phones.
Yes. Okay. So we had a teenager who was in a class in high school who I was told at registration they would be using their phones in class to do.
Yeah.
There was some
Right.
app that they were going to have, and they were going to need it. And I think anymore people expect that everyone has a cell phone. So like when we were kids and you had practice ended at a certain time because otherwise you wouldn't have a ride home.
Right.
But now it's assumed that you've got a phone and you'll just text when you need a ride. So practices don't end at a consistent time.
Right. So I do think that it's amazing that parents can fight that fight and win it. I did not win it with my family.
Well, I think you bring a good point, though, because most of us are at that point. We're not, most of the people probably watching this video with us, their kids already have phones too.
Yeah.
So it's just not realistic.
Right.
I was just reading this parenting book about how when you progressively give your kids more freedoms, then they're always content. But when you've given them too much and then you try to scale it back, that's when the pain comes in, and that's when you're really going to have a fight. So I think once they've already got all of it, it's just not realistic to expect that we can take it away and that they're going to just deal with it.
And they're going to go, oh, you're right.
So I like this because it's kind of about what do we do now that they've got the phone, now that they're on social media, how can we help them once they're in that place?
And we don't, as parents, I think, of this generation, we don't know how to do it. We don't know.
I don't know how to use
handle
Instagram at all.
I think that we need to teach them how to use social media responsibly. We need to teach them how to kind of work with us and find a way that we can be okay with them using social media, and they still feel like they have that freedom to do that. So we're not taking anything away from them. We're just trying to help them use it in a way that is not going to hurt them now or in the future. And so I think we just have to accept that they're going to use this, and we have to say, okay, if you're going to use this, let's do this in the best way that we
Healthy.
can.
I like how you said in a healthy way.
Number one, I think, is to talk to them about relationships and what is a real relationship supposed to be like. What are your friendships supposed to be like? What are your romantic relationships supposed to be like? How, Snapchat and Instagram and all these things, they're false relationships, I think. I don't think there's anything on it. I mean, there's really nothing honest about social media posts. If you look at people's posts, they're not, it's the best of them in this one snapshot, this one
Or
moment in
sometimes the
time.
worst. If you don't get the whole picture.
Right. And
There's no context for any of it.
right. And I think it's easy for young kids to, and for everyone, to be manipulated by things that they see that are not real. So
Number 2, because I feel like number 2 I have total control over. Be a good role model. So what Em talks about is how, we ourselves have to be an example of how to use Facebook and Snapchat and our phones in general in a healthy way, and to not let them take over our real life.
Right.
And to make our real life our focus. Yes. And, when we're sitting around with our friends or with them, be focused on them and put the phone away. And also, don't engage in arguments or drama online. I like that one because it's easy to get sucked into that.
Yeah, and to think that your kids aren't going to see something that you posted online, I think.
Well, because if you friend them or whatever it's called and whatever the app is, it's not just a one-way thing.
Right.
You see them, but they see all your stuff too.
Yeah. The next thing I think is just to listen to them. And that listening to especially preteen and teenagers, they are telling you things without saying things. So they're telling you about things that are happening in their lives in social media or whatever, but they're not going to explain it to you like, well, this is what happened to me today. No, they're going to kind of be vague, and they're going to give you clues about what's going on.
And if you're busy looking at your phone while they're trying to do that, you're not seeing what's going on in their face, and you're not really focused on their tone of voice, and it's easy to miss, half listen.
Yeah, and part of listening to them, I think, is being in tune with their mood and their behavior. And so, I see my daughters get on their phone, and before they're on their phone, they're happy and we're talking and everything's fine. They look at their phone and then the mood just changes. And I think that's one of the things you have to be looking out for.
All right. Well, the next one is related to what I said before about checking their social media, but not being obsessive about it, and not trying to control everything that they do, because I think it's just like anything else. You have to let them make their own choices to some degree and make their own mistakes to some degree, because otherwise they're never going to really learn it. It can't be all about, don't post that, I have to read it first, or giving, I don't even really think you need to check it daily. I don't know. I don't think I could check it daily.
I don't check it daily. I check, I do kind of the look over, what are you looking at? That kind of a thing. as much as they'll let me, I kind of, oh, what do you know, who are you talking to on Snapchat, or who, what's the conversation, what's going on? But
What happens when you find something that you're like, whoa, this was not a good idea?
This has happened. And I just kind of bring it up in not like a yelling mom kind of a way. I just kind of, because we could do that.
Yell?
I never yell. But I have just kind of, hey, what I saw this. Can you explain what that meant? What you were saying there, or what that person was
kind of assuming that they didn't really mean to do what it looks like they did.
And not that I'm trying to be sneaky about it, but I want them to tell me without being
And
defensive.
maybe you're misinterpreting it too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of remotely possible.
And sometimes I think they get involved in things that they don't intend to get involved in, and they don't know what to do once they are in that
like it goes back and forth and it just escalates.
Yeah. And the last thing I think that we should try to do to figure this out is to set limits. I mean, that kids need limits on everything, so the phone is no different. Time limits, a bedtime for the phone, a central location where you want your kids to use their phones, making sure that they're not using them when they're supposed to be having a face-to-face conversation. And then you, as a parent, I'm sure you've heard all about the way that we can kind of control their phones, but if you can put apps on there for time limits. You can put apps on there for what they can and can't download. You can set limits on their settings and their control stuff. You can put filters on your internet. I don't know. There are
we need to have it, or you need to give me anyway, like a link to where it explains how to do all that.
I know,
because I've looked at Esme's phone and I just can't even. I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
So.
One thing I did do, which was kind of fun, is you can put a passcode on their time. That you can give them a time limit for, if you want it for entertainment, you can put a time limit on that, so it'll restrict the time they can use YouTube and Netflix and all that stuff.
Like per day?
Yeah.
Oh.
So
it just shuts off.
So no, it warns you. The girls and I. So I put one on their phone and they put one on my phone, so that we would be accountable to each other.
Cool.
Yeah. So every day, if I get,
have you be accountable to that. I really like that, because then it's more like you're in it together.
Yeah.
And that's a cool idea. That should be number 5B.
Yeah. So anyway, if you have suggestions for us, for any comments, any thoughts about how to use social media or how to get your kids to kind of buy into helping you figure out how to use it as a family in a good, healthy way, let us know.